Hello, today we're going to talk about Chapter 3, Lesson 3. This is on functions, and you'll find it on page 287 to 294. Let's get started. So, before we begin, what is a function? A function is a relationship where every member of the domain pairs with exactly one member of the range. So what you're probably asking yourself right here is, man, I cannot remember what domain and range are. Well, you're in luck. What I'd like you to do right now is copy these two thinking maps down. One is on domain and one is on range. So here's the first one, domain. All right. That is essentially all of the x values that we have in an equation. So we get to pick the x values. Okay. They're the input. So when we use a function, if we're inputting numbers into an equation, for example, when we put numbers into x, we're inputting it. And you'll hear in science they're often called an independent variable. Okay? And then range is just the opposite of all that. So the range are the y values. It's the output of a function. And this is what's called the dependent variable. All right? So one way to think about it is when we make our xy chart, the left side of that chart, all the x values are the domain. And what you kick out are the range, the dependent variable. All right. So how are we going to use this today? Well, essentially, you're going to be given equations that look like this. And the blue side here is our range. It's the output. Oftentimes in functions, we just see this written as y, because that's what the range is. And it's read how I read it 99% of the time is f of x. So when I see this, I say f of x. f of x equals 15x. Now the x, the red here, is our input, is our domain. Okay? So how are we actually going to use this? Well, let's take a look. Alright, so we're just going to go over example 1 today, and it's just using function notation. That's what that f of x is. And if we're given a problem like find f of negative 3, that's how you read that, f of negative 3, if f of x equals 2x plus 1. So what we're going to do, we know that this negative 3, you can see that it kind of pairs with that, is our x value. So we're going to substitute negative 3 for that x. And it looks like this. Notice I have them in red. So instead of writing x, I'm writing negative 3. Very similar to how we found the other variable in the substitution method. All right. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And I just keep writing this here. It's kind of nice at the end. Sorry about that. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5, so f of negative 3 is negative 5. And what I really want you to understand is you just found your ordered pair. So when you're on your plane, what you're really doing is you're saying, okay, if x is negative 3, then the output is negative 5, and we have a point there. All right? So I want you to keep that in mind. In fact, I want you to write your ordered pair after you find your answer. All right, just to kind of solidify the fact that you are really finding an ordered pair. All right, and if we found, let's say, the value at negative 2, negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3, which is right here. And notice that would be a slope of 2 over 1, which is 2. I mean, you could use the graph to find at negative 1 would be, oh, I lost my cursor, would be up 2 over 1. And if we plugged in negative 1, we would get negative 1. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So we would land here. And essentially, these points are going to follow our rise over run. All right? So what I want you to do right now is try these two problems. So we're going to pause the video. You're going to attempt them. And then we'll play it to show you the solutions. So pause the video. Let's try the two. And then when you're done, hit play. All right. So we have f of 2 here. I'm going to put 2 in for x. I'm going to do the same thing I did in the last problem. f of 2 is 2 minus 4. X was by itself. We weren't multiplying it by everything, so we just substituted 2. And 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So we're pretty much done here. All we want to do is write it as an ordered pair. I'm not going to ask you to graph it, just I want you to understand that that's the x value, that's the y value, and that you found an ordered pair. Okay. Same thing here. I'm going to put 11 in for x. I will have a multiplication to do after that. So here it is. F of 11 is 1/2 of 11 plus 5. When you multiply a fraction and a whole number, you just multiply these two numbers. 1 times 11 is 11, and we divide that by 2. And we're still adding the 5. And then 11 over 2 is 5.5. And 5.5 plus 5 is 10.5. And then our ordered pair is 11, 10.5. So I hope this video helped. I'll give you a worksheet to go along with it so you can practice what we did here. And I will see you guys tomorrow.